What would you do if you realized the room you were sleeping in had a horrifying secret, that every passenger who stayed there never returned? Tonight, we set sail into the terrifying mystery of Cabin 105, where travelers vanish without a trace, and something unspeakable lurks in the shadows. This is a true dark Gothic horror story that has haunted this ship for decades, one that no captain dares to speak of. Are you brave enough to hear what really happens behind the locked door of Cabin 105? Hold on tight, because some horrors never sink. It all began a few years ago when I booked a week-long holiday aboard the RMS Tranquility, a luxury cruise ship sailing across the Atlantic. I was assigned to Cabin 105, a compact but comfortable room with a bunk bed. My roommate was a stranger, someone I never met, but his suitcase stood neatly beside the wardrobe, suggesting he had already checked in. The only thing that unsettled me was the thick, musty scent of damp that clung to the air, a scent that never seemed to fade. That night, as the ship set sail, exhaustion overtook me. I climbed into the bottom bunk and drifted into a restless sleep, until I was jolted awake by a sound above me. It was coming from the top bunk. My roommate must have arrived while I slept. Then I heard the unmistakable click of the door unlocking, followed by hurried footsteps running down the corridor. I turned, expecting to see the figure of my bunkmate, but the door swung open, empty. Confused, I got up, shut the door, and returned to bed, chalking it up to groggy imagination. By morning, the sea had turned rough and the ship rocked back and forth. The damp stench was stronger than ever, and the room was unbearably cold. I noticed the porthole had somehow swung open during the night, allowing freezing ocean air to rush in. As I shut it, I glanced at the top bunk. The curtains were still drawn. My roommate must have returned late and was still asleep, or so I thought. Later that morning, I found a steward and casually mentioned the cold, damp conditions in my cabin. The moment I said the number, Cabin 105, his face went pale. Steward replied, "Which cabin did you say?" When I repeated it, he visibly shuddered, looking over his shoulder as if making sure no one else was listening. He leaned in and muttered, "That cabin, it's not right. Every passenger who sleeps there jumps overboard." At breakfast, the ship's captain approached me, his face grim. "Have you seen your roommate?" he asked. When I told him no, he sighed heavily. "He's missing. We're afraid he might have gone overboard." I was shaken. Was this just a coincidence, or was Cabin 105 truly cursed? That night, I decided to find out for myself. The room was freezing. I turned toward the top bunk, but the darkness inside was impenetrable. Then I heard it, a groan, low and guttural, coming from behind the curtain. I reached forward, and my fingers touched something wet, something ice cold, something that reeked of rotting seaweed. It was a corpse, soaked, bloated, its pale skin slick with seawater. I could see the horror in its dead eyes as it lunged for me. I screamed, scrambling toward the door, but the thing was faster. It grabbed my throat, squeezing tight. Its strength was inhuman, its touch unbearably cold. Captain replied, "Now, do you believe me?" That was the last time anyone ever set foot in Cabin 105. The door was permanently sealed, the cabin left to its ghosts. The ship continued its voyages, but the legend lived on. To this day, passengers whisper about the cursed room, and some claim that on stormy nights, if you walk past its door, you can still hear the faint, eerie sound of something moving inside. What do you think? Was it a restless spirit seeking revenge, or a warning from something far darker lurking beneath the waves? Tell us in the comments below. And if you love terrifying true horror stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another chilling tale from the depths of darkness. Until next time, sleep tight and beware what waits in the dark. You can't escape.